Okay, we're going to be going over the K-2SO hardware kit for the animatronic eyes. We've got all the parts needed to assemble this for the Droid Division K-2SO Animated Head, or animatronic head. This is what a finished build of it looks like. Don't have the circuit boards and things here, but those are things that you can add after we're done building here. So I've gone ahead and printed out all of the parts because I have this black background. I've printed out all the parts in white PLA, so we'll be able to put these together. I'm going to walk you through each assembly step and go over our hardware kit. So let's do that. Get these out of the way. Our hardware kit comes with a variety of screws and bearings that you'll need, along with the necessary servos, and as well as pre-wired eyeballs. So everything you need to build this head is going to be supplied in our toolkit, along with even the wrenches that you'll need to assemble everything. One of the things that I like to do before I start building out any of my projects is I have these little trays here, and I like to just put my parts in them as I go, just to kind of keep them clean and organized, so that I'm not missing anything as I go. So that's how I'm going to have this set up. I'm going to have these off the camera, and that's just how I like to work and keep things organized. Move those over here. I'm going to start with our bearings. So what these do is they press into some of the components that we've printed and allow the screws to move freely. You'll notice that there's two sizes here. Let's see if we can see those pretty well. So there's two sizes here, a smaller one and a larger one. So the smaller ones, we have more of those, and I believe there's 6 of them, and we have 4 of the larger ones, and then 6 of the smaller guys. So this is the first piece that we're going to be adding bearings to. If your print isn't as clean as this one, you can go ahead and take like an X-Acto knife and clear these out if you need to. But these print pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So our bearings should just be able to press in to the top. I also have this pair of pliers that I have, and I like to use those to just squeeze them in just a little bit. They don't need much force, but now they're nice and flush. Here we go. Easy as that. Now the next one that's going to need a bearing is this. This is our eyeball pivot. So this is where we're going to need a bearing. Same thing, kind of get it in there, and then I just use these pliers and I just give it a nice little squeeze in. There we go. This one doesn't go all the way flush, just sits in there nice. We also have these bearings that need to go in here. That's going to control the eyeballs that move back and forth inside here. So for those, we use the larger of these. So those snap right into place. We have 4 of them. Again, they should go in easy. If they don't, then you'll need the larger you'll need to press them in. Okay, so we have those all set. Again, take your time so you don't break these. It's not a big deal to reprint them, but you don't want to have to do that. The next piece that needs some bearings is this piece. This is the piece that is also going to add some movement, and we need to add the bearings here. So these bearings don't come in from the outside, we bring them in from the inside here. So this is pretty thin here, so you want to be careful of when you press them in not to break anything. That one went in pretty easy. And there we go also. Okay, I didn't have to press those in at all, just with my own muscular strength there. Okay, so we have that, and we're out of parts here, which is great. So to review, these are our 3 pieces that have our bearings. There's 10 bearings in all. These are the larger ones. The smaller guy here, 3 smaller guys, and then 2 of the smaller guys there. Okay, now that we have this piece put together, it's time to put a servo in. So the kit comes with some servos. This is a servo. This is going to be controlled by our microprocessor, the Arduino. And what this does is it moves this back and forth and through the control signal on this. Inside the servo packet comes some tools. I put them here in this little dish so we don't lose any of them. So one of them is a little screw, like one of those sharp ones. There's 2 of them in there. So make sure that the larger part of the servo here is pointed this way and the smaller side is facing out. So you're going to need a little screwdriver for this. I just have a little tiny Phillips head guy. And this can be a tight fit, so maybe get your kids to help you with this. Okay, that screws in just like that. Right? So now the next part is we have this open area here, and we're going to need to take this piece and mount it on the back. It mounts this way. So I've already taken these screws and I've taken them out of our M28 screws. These are little guys. I put them in this dish. Now our kit does come with the appropriate wrenches that you need to put them together. It's going to be our smallest wrench in here. Or if you're like me and you actually have some tools around, you have a hex driver that's ratcheting, it makes things a lot easier. So what I've gone and done is screwed these in, and I've left a few of them up just a little bit, and that's going to help us index the this piece when we go to screw it in here. So those will line up. Hold that in place, and we will just screw those down. Okay. So this is just for retention. These don't need to be bolted down. The servo is not going to go anywhere, right? So the next thing that we need to do is add the servo arm, right? So this is a servo arm. Oops, the camera doesn't want to grab it there. There we go. This is a servo arm. That is going to go on our servo. So the larger side here, the larger side here, is actually got some teeth on it, and that is going to go on top of our servo. That just presses into place. If you need to, or you damage this, you also could just take one of these and trim it down. Just cut it. I've done that before. So to hold this in place, there is also a little screw that's part of our kit, and we can just screw that down there to lock it in place. And that just screws in. Okay, there we go. Right? So now we'll move on to the next bit of the build. We'll set our servo stuff aside, and also the M2-8. I'll take the packet and put it back here on top so I know what I'm doing, and move those off camera. So the next bit of our build is going to focus on the eye shafts. Okay, you can see there's a ridge on the inside of each of them. That is going to go on the outside because when we get to it, our eyeballs press into those, right? So we got to make sure that the ridge is facing out, right? So this ridge faces out, and they're going to sit inside of the last piece, just like so. Okay, this is where our bearings on the top and bottom come into play. Right. So for this, we're going to need our M3 12 screws. Okay, you're going to notice some of them have nuts on them. We're going to be getting to those in a bit. We're going to be using the ones that do not have nuts on them right now. So those are going to come in straight from the top there and the bottom and go into the eye shaft here. So what I've liked to do in the past is just thread these. Again, we have 2 size wrenches, so you'll be able to assemble all of these that you need. So I like to thread these just a bit. So screw them in, and then back them out, just so we can cut some threads in the plastic that we've printed here. Nothing major, just it helps with the assembly process. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do that for the next one as well. And while we're at it, right now is a good time to also cut these back holes also. It's also an M3 screw, so we can just go ahead and tap these right now. It works for me. Now we're going to take our eyeball and slide it in. We're going to line that up. And now, since we've already cut these threads, we can just hand tighten those in for now. We'll do that on the back side of this one as well. Get that lined up. Okay, now here's the secret. You want these to be lined up somewhere in between so we can get some eye movement there. That's where those bearings help. So you don't want to over tighten this, because that will prevent the eyeballs from moving and also not place them in the center too well. See, so this is too tight in my opinion. It doesn't want to move well. So we can take that and just back that off like a quarter turn on each side. We don't want them sloppy, but we want them to be able to pivot around without much effort. And with your build, you can always tighten these up or loosen these. Actually, I'm going to give it just an 1/8 of a turn more on each one. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. Okay, and that'll hold in place, and we've got some good spacing all the way around it. Okay, and we want to make sure that we have this hole in the back on the top, right? So nothing on the bottom, we want this one on the top. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do that for the other one as well. Remember, we want that hole on the top here. We're going to have this connecting rod that goes across the top, and we need to have that there. Okay, and we want them to be about the same tightness. This one's way too tight. I mean, the servos are going to be good enough to make these move around, but you want it to not be too difficult for it, right? Okay, so those feel about right to me. Okay. Now we're going to take our connecting rod, and this goes right on top here. So you can see that this servo is going to move back and forth, and that's going to control these, and that's going to make the eyeballs move back and forth, right? So let's go ahead and do that. That's why it's important to have these holes at the top here. And for that, we are going to go ahead and get out our M38 screws. We got 2 of them here, right? So let's take those, line those up, and again, since we cut those previously, those should screw in very easily. Again, this doesn't have to be crazy tight, but we can see that now the eyeballs move in unison. So with the help of these bearings, and now the servo is going to do the job. So what we want to do is line that up back with our servo parts. There's another screw here. We're going to take that sharp screw, put it through here, line it up with our servo arm, which can be a little difficult. Okay, we're going to line that up with our servo arm, and then we're going to screw this in our Phillips head screwdriver. Okay, and we're going to screw that in, and that is going to go into our servo. So that is going to control everything back and forth, right? Pretty cool. So we have all of this done. So we have the eyeball back and forth. Now we need the up and down motion of that. Okay, for our next bit, we're going to be working with this pivot point, and this is going to go through our eyeballs and attach there, right? So that's how it's going to attach, and then we also have a servo that we're going to attach there. So for this one, we're going to be using our M310 screws. And this, we're going to be screwing in there. So be sure that this bracket is facing up. So this might be a little tight, but not too bad. Okay, so we've got that there. So take your time with this. Okay, our bearings in place. Oops. Our bearings in place, so we got that pivot motion here, right? Let's get that other one in. You don't want these super tight, okay? You want to be able to have this pivot up and down and also not interfere with our side to sides, right? So Now in the back here, we have to attach another servo. So it's coming along. Let's go ahead and take another servo out. Okay. Take our servo parts, put those out. Okay. Now, this servo goes in this way, right? So we want the larger part facing out. You can see the servo arm is going to attach there. Okay. So we have 2 screws that go in those spaces. Those are provided in the kit, in the servo kit. Okay. These don't have to be super tight, just enough to hold the servo in place. Okay, servo's in there, nice and easy. We'll take our servo arm here again. Okay, we'll push it on. Okay, now we can see that that arm is going to pivot down right over the top of that servo arm there. Just goes right over the top of it. That will go in there. Okay, we're going to screw that down. And then with this arm, take the remaining screw, stick it through the bearing, line it up with the arm, and screw that in. So now you see we got our eyeballs going back and forth, and then we got the tilt going up and down. Okay. So one of our last orders of business, now that we have this all put together, is these 2 pieces, right? So this goes over the top, and this attaches onto the back of it, right? This is a hole for our wires, and then bolts to hold this assembly into place. So what I like to do is go ahead and just bolt these things together. So again, we're coming back to our M312 screws. These ones have the nuts on them. Let's go ahead and take the nuts off of them. Okay. Real simple. So those, you just thread through the back here into the front. And we'll just hand tighten those for now until we get all of them in. Easy as that. Your nuts may be black, doesn't really matter. This is inside of the K-2SO's head. Just like that. So what we have left here is our M320s with the nuts. Go ahead and open those up. And we'll take the nuts off those as well. Okay. And those are going to pass right through here. So we'll go ahead and stick those. We're going to have to again cut these. Depending on your printer, you might or might not have to. Tolerances on mine were a little tight there. Okay, so we've gotten those in, and those are going to mount into the back holes here. So we've got them through, we've indexed them. Let's go through and feed these wires now for the servos. That'll make it a little easier. Line those up. I'll just screw these in. Okay. Once we have those most of the way through, take our nuts and we'll just place them in there. So we just screwed those in and we got the nuts there. We'll do the same for the other side now. Alright, just like that. There we go. So the next step, probably one of the coolest steps I think, is moving over to our eyeballs. Okay, these come with the kit all ready to go. Okay, we've got our ground, power, and signal wires. And those we can just feed right through the eye socket. Do the same here. Then those should press into place. Right? If you have any challenges around this based on how your printer was, you can actually just reach your finger back in here and pop them out if you need to. Or disassemble this and pop those out if you need to, and then take some sandpaper and sand the edges if they don't fit into your housing just right. So we can take these wires, feed them right through the back of the head here, and there it is. This is the hardware kit for the K-2SO head. It's got everything you need, all the parts, and then the next steps, if you want, are purchasing the other components to make this work, mounting those up and doing all this crazy wiring and programming, or we have a special kit coming out to support this as well. Make this really easy, just plug and play and go from there. So if you have any questions, please reach out. We're always ready to help and make your droids even more cool than they already are. So thanks to Droid Division and the folks who put out these files. Peace.